I have something to share from my own life which I think will be suitable for this subreddit. I needed to get this off my chest and maybe get some feedback about whether I was right in doing what I did. I am pretty sure that I am in the right, but it wouldn't hurt to know what people outside my family and friends think of this situation. So, I, 32, male, come from a family where my older brother Vince, 36, male, was always put on a pedestal. I don't know why things were like this, but it seemed like my parents always worshipped my older brother. There is no point in asking why, because I don't have those answers for myself. Since I was little, I always saw my parents favoring my older brother while I practically grew up in the shadows. I will admit that Vince did have a lot of achievements in life to successfully take the position of the golden child. He has always been at the top of his class and played two sports where he did exceptionally well. Every year, he brought in a minimum of 3 awards from all the hobbies, activities, and sports he played. Not to mention the fact that he was the star kid at school, and even the teachers were always gushing about him. Now, when it comes to me, my parents were always a little disappointed, I guess. I won't say that I was a bad student or couldn't excel in anything. I was actually a good student and did fairly well in school. But I wasn't a star kid like Vince had been. I was a little shy, so playing sports or joining group activities was a little difficult for me. I later found out that I am on the spectrum, so mingling with people was hard for me. Combined with the neglect at home, I was somewhat convinced that I wasn't good enough to make friends or have a large group of people like me. It was bad enough that I had to live in the shadows of my brother at school, and everyone talked about what a shame it was that I achieved so little compared to my brother. I am going to be very honest here, but those whispers from strangers or classmates didn't bother me as much. What bothered me was when my own parents would say these things about me. Being on the spectrum, I did have, let's say, a few quirks. My parents never got me diagnosed, so they didn't know that I literally had a problem. They just made fun of me relentlessly and joked about how they were lucky to have Vince, or else the family would have been a huge failure. They said those things right in front of me, and Vince always joined them and laughed his butt off. None of them ever considered how I felt listening to those words. When I was young, I used to look up to my brother and consider him an idol. But as we grew older, Vince started to become a bully at home. My parents, of course, did nothing about it. They just said that it was a good thing Vince was trying to whip me into shape. I did try to communicate my feelings to them and even had a mini mental breakdown one day when they wouldn't stop teasing me and making fun of me. Did that stop my parents? Of course not. It changed nothing. I was just called a dramatic attention seeker. My parents actually doubled down on their comments and kept telling me that I needed to learn to handle criticisms instead of crying like a baby. After that day, Vince amped up his bullying, while my parents just encouraged him to continue to whip me into shape. I was 14 back then. I am just thankful that there was minimal physical violence from Vince. It was mostly humiliation and psychological torture. Even if there was very little physical bullying, my life felt like hell. What was worse was that I simply couldn't stop loving them and hoping that things would get better. I was pretty much a loner at school because of my own insecurities and mental health problems, so I didn't have anyone to share my feelings with. I am pretty sure no one would have believed me because they put Vince on a pedestal. Cancel culture didn't exist back then, and people were more or less ignorant about basic mental health problems. That stigma alone made me retreat within myself and stay a loner. Vince eventually went to college and things got a little better at home for a total of 1 year. After that, he pretty much dropped out and came back home to start his own business. Despite our parents paying for his college and giving him full access to his college fund, Vince didn't want to continue studying. He was fully convinced that his skills would make him a great businessman, and he would end up making it big even without a college education. My parents supported this, of course. They even gave him more money to start his business venture since he didn't have any. All this worked out very well for my brother and our parents. My mom and dad were happy to have their golden child back home. Vince was happy to start his dream business without having to worry about finances. Everyone was happy except me. I was once again subjected to endless comparisons and bullying from everyone around me. After going through years of this horrible treatment, my mental health started to decline. Slowly, I had trouble keeping up my grades. My parents, of course, took this opportunity to point out how Vince had never fallen behind in classes and how he was so much better than me. In my final year of school, a teacher noticed the changes in me and took me aside to talk to me. I didn't tell her much, but got it across that I was suffering mentally. I will have to say that it was because of her that I managed to get my grades back on track and graduated from school with flying colors. Mrs. D will always be my hero. She helped me out and encouraged me enough to make me work harder for my future. I even managed to get into a great college, all on my own. But then trouble started again. Not only did my parents dismiss my efforts, but they also nonchalantly told me that they didn't have a college fund for me. Apparently, whatever little money they had for me was spent on my brother's business. Vince's business was doing pretty well by then, but he had no intention of giving back any money. Not that my parents would ever ask their golden child to sacrifice a little for me. They just informed me that there was no money and casually went their way. I tried applying for scholarships, but my parents' income didn't make me qualify for any. I was determined to go to college, so I took out loans and started working 2 jobs to get myself through college. I was living in the dorms and pinching pennies because I simply couldn't afford to have a decent life. My roommate at the time, Eleanor, 31, female, was the one who sponsored some of my meals. She has her parents fund her college, so she was feeding me from the fun money she had from working odd jobs after class. Yes, I am aware that she is an amazing woman, so yeah, I was left struggling and at the mercy of God while my brother had the life of his dreams. His business took off and my parents were as proud as ever. I stopped going back home because I couldn't bear the constant criticisms and the favoritism anymore. What ticked me off the most was when my brother announced his wedding. I was still in college and still as broke as ever. Flying back home to attend the wedding would have been too expensive for me. Before I RSVP'd, I decided to call my parents and tell them just how broke I was. I literally gave them a rundown of how much money I had and why I wouldn't be able to attend the wedding without help. My parents just laughed at me and told me that it's such a shame that their youngest son turned out to be a failure, while their oldest is all set to be a millionaire. That one hurt like hell. No, they never offered to help me with plane tickets. They just told me that it would be best if I don't come, since I would end up being a burden to myself more than I already am. I think it was from that day that I almost stopped talking to my parents. Eleanor, who became my girlfriend, offered to help me with the plane tickets with whatever she had saved over the years. I think that was the wake-up call for me. My own parents didn't have a single care about me, but my girlfriend was willing to give me all she had just to see me happy. I think that's when I realized that I needed to move on and cut them off. I barely keep in touch with my parents after that. I had almost no contact with my brother as well. He went on to have 2 kids and I wasn't invited to any of those events. My parents had the audacity to call me and tell me that Vince didn't want someone from a poor background in his upscale baby showers and parties, so I never met the kids, and I did not attend any of their birthdays. I never went back to visit my parents, and they never met Eleanor. Hell, I don't think they know about her even now. Sorry for the long backstory, but I felt I needed to get this off my chest. Years have passed since then. I managed to land a great job out of college, and so did Eleanor. We started to live together and pinched pennies again to make sure all my loans were paid off. I didn't want to marry Eleanor before clearing my student loans because I didn't want her to be saddled with my loans. All was well for me until I got an unexpected call from my parents last week. I barely kept in touch with them, and we only talked on Thanksgiving and Christmas, so when they called me quite out of the blue, I didn't know what to think. Turns out they wanted my help. Vince has ended up ruining his life. After a series of bad decisions, my parents didn't exactly say what happened, just that he was experiencing some financial trouble and needed some. So, who was going to help him? Me, of course. I am literally shaking with anger right now as I'm writing this. After years of being ignored, neglected, downright abused, my parents call me and demand that I help their golden child because he's struggling. Mind you, he had everything handed to him by my parents. Yes, he worked hard to build his business, but the money came from my parents. Not to mention the fact that he literally blew through his college fund on God knows what, since he never ended up finishing college. My parents now think that I should help him out by sending him money whenever he wants it. I actually laughed at my parents when they said that. It was just plain ridiculous after everything they had done to me. My parents were, of course, mad at me that I was not taking this seriously. After a small argument, I told them straight up that I won't be giving a cent of my hard-earned money to that bully. I then hung up on them before they could yell at me and try to manipulate me into doing what they wanted. It's been days since that phone call. My parents have been relentless and keep blowing up my phone, demanding I do the right thing and help Vince. Vince also sent me some texts telling me that I should be giving him money and helping him out because we are family. Yeah, he has suddenly started to consider me family. I have been ignoring their messages and leaving them to fend for themselves. My girlfriend is totally on my side and has been pushing me to go no contact with them for good. I've been thinking about things, and maybe this would be the right thing to do. But then their messages are sometimes making me feel a little guilty because, after all, they are my blood. It doesn't help that a few of my extended family have also reached out and scolded me for not helping my family when they are in need. I won't lie, but it honestly felt good to know that the golden child is no longer the all-achieving star kid that everyone gushed about. He has now fallen from grace and is struggling instead of making millions as my parents had predicted. But sometimes it feels like I should help out a little because, well, family. What do you guys make of this? Should I maybe help him out a little? Edit. Okay, I did leave out a lot of details about what exactly is happening with my brother. From what my parents told me so far, his business is not doing very well. He has been having financial difficulties for a while now. Honestly, I don't know how much I should believe that. I don't talk to him or call him, but I do follow him on Instagram. He has been uploading all kinds of pictures on his account, which doesn't make him look like someone who's struggling. He's taking vacations, going out for fancy dinners, and even splurging on luxury products. Hell, he bought a new car 2 months ago. That would make it his third luxury car so far. To be very honest, I don't know why my parents are painting him as some broke guy who can't even pay for his kid's fancy school. When I hung up on them and stopped communicating, they tried to blackmail me, saying that Vince would have to pull my nephews out of their school because he couldn't afford the tuition anymore. I don't know if it's a lie or the truth. I think that my parents are still trying to maintain Vince's golden boy image, so they're not giving out much detail. And then again, Vince's social media isn't exactly lining up with his supposedly ruined finances. Update 1. Wow, who knew that a simple post would blow up like this on Reddit? This is kind of strange to me, to be honest. I just wanted to vent and maybe see if I can get an opinion from 1 or 2 guys. I definitely didn't expect a barrage of comments from strangers all over the world. First things first, I have to say a big thank you to all the lovely messages you sent me. Some of you have been really wrecked by the story of my childhood. It actually made me wish I had kind people like you guys when I was a teenager. Those are undoubtedly some of the darkest times of my life. I haven't mentioned this in my post, but I did end up getting help for all the trauma I have been through. It was Eleanor, my girlfriend, who pushed me to get therapy once I had the money to spare. I think she suspected that I was on the spectrum, so she begged me to get a diagnosis to make life better for me. I don't think I would have walked myself to therapy if Eleanor weren't by my side. She gave me the confidence and reassurance that everything will be all right if I just get a little help from professionals. Thank God I listened to her. I got my diagnosis after attending therapy, and I still go in from time to time. It would be a lie to say that I have let go of the resentment, but I have learned to accept my past and move on. That's exactly what I was doing before my parents and brother decided to drag me into drama. They seemed fine without me so far. I mean, I barely spoke to my parents in 10 years, and I didn't see my brother or his family even once since college. I was never a part of any Christmas or Thanksgiving celebrations either. I saw my parents in person over 10 years ago too. They never attended my college graduation, didn't care. I actually didn't want them there either. Eleanor and her family were there for me, and that was more than enough. My girlfriend's parents are better than my own parents anyway. I call them bonus mom and dad, even if I haven't married Eleanor yet. And speaking of my girlfriend, I really enjoyed all the good wishes you sent for her. Yes, I know she's an angel. Yes, I'm aware that she is practically God sent for me. I can't express in words what she means to me and how much I love this woman. She literally waited over 10 years for me to propose. She knew I wanted to settle my debt before marriage, and she understood my reasoning for it. I am actually about to pop the question very soon, so I'm desperately hoping that she won't find my post. I did use a throwaway, so fingers crossed about that. I just wish this family drama hadn't cropped up before the proposal. Now I'm literally in a dilemma about what to do. I know that most of you agreed that my family shouldn't expect anything from me, and I should just cut my losses at this point. I think I will hold firm on my decision not to help them. It's just the kids that I'm worried about. I may not know them, but they are the innocent ones in all this. I haven't decided about that part yet. I have been debating paying their tuition, but I'm not sure yet. Maybe I will have another talk with my parents before deciding on that. When I wrote down the last post and saw the comments you left, I realized that I still have a lot of pent-up anger in me. I think I need to confront my parents and say my piece before ending that chapter of my life for good. Eleanor has also supported this thought process of mine, so maybe I will meet them one last time, even if it's just for closure. We will see about that later. For now, I'm going to concentrate on setting up the perfect proposal for the woman of my dreams, who will soon become my wife if everything goes right. Wish me luck for that. Update 2. Hi there. I had almost forgotten about the post and the family drama. Please don't be mad at me for that. I was actually busy with the proposal and everything, so I didn't have time for anything else. I put all my concentration on planning the proposal and showing Eleanor how much I love her. I'm now happy to tell you that Eleanor is no longer my girlfriend. She is now my fiancée. She said yes and made me the happiest guy on the planet. I had been very busy with everything since the proposal was in Cancun. You know, I'm on the spectrum, so I had been second-guessing myself and stressing about whether or not I planned the perfect proposal. Thankfully, Eleanor confirmed that it was just how she had dreamed of. I even showed her the post after I proposed to her. I am now writing this update with her by my side, so the happy part of the update concludes here. Now comes the bad part. I posted pictures of my engagement after we came back from Cancun. Guess who blew their top off when they saw those pictures? My parents and my brother, of course. I was called all kinds of names for splurging on a trip and wasting money when my family needed help. There were a lot of nasty messages that I didn't reply to because I was busy enjoying some cozy time with my fiancé. I was determined to drop the plan of meeting with my parents because I was way too happy with my new life to start drama. But then my parents started to change their tune. For some odd reason, they begged me to meet with them. They even reached out to Eleanor and begged her to convince me to meet with them. As you can tell, Eleanor has a hard time being rude to people, so she couldn't really tell my parents off instantly. We talked about it and decided it would be best if I met with my parents and saw what they had to say. After all, closure would do me good in the end, so I arranged a video call with them. Boy, I wasn't expecting to see them so frail and broken. The years did not do them good. Anyways, my parents wasted no time in pleasantries and immediately broke down in tears while telling me the whole story about what was going on. Turns out my brother and my parents were in some deep trouble. Vince's business was doing fairly well until he started to make some risky decisions that cost him a lot of money. He tried to rectify the situation and went into a huge debt. But he refused to scale back his lifestyle and kept overspending money they didn't have. After several bank loans and maxed out credit cards, he came to my parents for help. My parents were stupid enough to mortgage their house to help him out. Did that make Vince stop? Of course not. The golden child kept up his overspending habits while also keeping his financial difficulties a secret from his wife. Now his business is in ruins. His credit is horrible, he has a bunch of debt, and he has put my parents' home in jeopardy. His wife found out about it all and is threatening to leave him if he doesn't solve these problems soon. I guess she still doesn't know the full extent of everything because there is practically no way for Vince to recover his credit or his business. Right now, selling the business and declaring bankruptcy would be the best call. It looks like my parents would probably lose the house too, since they're having trouble supporting Vince and keeping up with the mortgage payments. I was sort of in shock to hear the whole story. I can't believe how selfish my brother has been and how my parents have kept enabling him. After they were done with their piece, I think they were positive that I would take pity on them all and finally help them. But I did none of that. When they were done, I said my piece that had been in the making for the last 3 decades. I told all about my feelings, the abuse, the favoritism, the bullying, and the neglect. It took me almost an hour to get it all out. My parents were crying the entire time, and my mom actually left the room for a few minutes before I was done. After all was said, I calmly told them that from then on, I was going to have no contact with them because I had already made a new family for myself and wanted them to be no part of it. My parents panicked and started to apologize, but I had none of it. I told them they all made their beds and now they had to lie on them. I ended the call after that and blocked everyone's number. I had Eleanor do the same, which she happily did. I feel much lighter now that I have let it all out. Eleanor has been my rock through this all. I have decided I'm going to let this all be in the past and move on with the person who actually cares about me. As for my brother and parents, they can go fend for themselves. That's pretty much the update I have for you guys right now. Update 3. I didn't exactly plan on coming back with an update, but here I am. It's been over 6 months since I made my last post. I was absolutely determined to close this chapter of my life, but here I am. Honestly, the support and love you guys gave me made me come back here with an update. I think you all deserve to know what happened after I made my last post. Before I get to the good part, let's get the unpleasantries out of the way. My parents didn't respect the no contact rule and kept harassing me through texts. They kept finding new phone numbers to message me. Thankfully, they couldn't reach Eleanor because they didn't have her phone number, just her socials. My parents kept apologizing to me and asking for a second chance. They also kept updating me about Vince, which I was the least bit interested in. Yeah, I don't think they changed, so from what I hear, Vince did end up shutting down his business and selling his assets, and even that wasn't able to cover all his debts. He was forced to declare bankruptcy. His wife left him pretty much after that and also took the kids. She actually got in touch with me and told me that she had no idea how bad things were between my family and me. She was just told that I went low contact with them due to some unnecessary ego issues. After she left Vince, she dug deeper and found out the whole truth from some family members who were on my side. She was appalled and disgusted with Vince. She graciously gave me the option to meet with my nephews and have a relationship with them if I wanted to. I agreed, and I am happy to say that I see them on video call from time to time. I tried helping Vince's ex with some money, but she vehemently refused. She has gotten a job and is teaching the kids to live within their means, unlike their father. The divorce is in the process, and apparently Vince has lost his mind over everything. Vince's ex told me that things have been rocky between him and our parents. Maybe I am a bad person, but I feel nice hearing that. My parents have finally seen what a monster they have created and how much they neglected their youngest son. They are now desperate to be back in my life and attend my wedding. Eleanor and I have set a date for next year. We're already planning everything, but my parents are not invited, of course. Don't worry, I plan to hire security to make sure they don't show up and barge into where they are unwanted. I guess we're already on the happy part of the update now. I have successfully cut off my toxic and abusive family from my life. I've also set the record straight with the extended family and filled in all the gaps with facts they didn't know before. I'm happy to say that the majority of them are on my side now. A few of them have apologized for not recognizing the abuse sooner and helping me out. I hold no grudges because they never had the full story of what was happening. Needless to say, a good part of the family has now gone no contact with both Vince and our parents. It does look like I'll be able to leave that part of my life behind as I planned. I'm all set to start a new family with Eleanor and live the life I always wanted to live. We are doing really well and not letting the wedding stress get to us. From now on, I'll be looking only towards the future and building a happy family where no kid would feel neglected or abused. I hope all of you will bless me and Eleanor as we start this new chapter of our lives. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.